In order to do math with questions and with data, we have to have many points of data. We have to have lots of answers, many answers. And there has to be a variety of answers. Okay, write this down. Write this down. What? Write this down. Yes. Not that part. I filled out on the outside parts, the ones where there's lots of writing. You have to write on the inside. Yeah? Yeah. So, you have to fill the inside. I did the outside for you because that was a lot. Alright, many points of data, and there's a variety of answers. So, with that, we have to make sure that we have lots of things we can do. Otherwise, we won't be able to find the average or the mean or the mode. Things like that. We won't be able to find our 5-number summary because there is only one or two things. So for this one, we might ask ourselves on the edge here, we're going to do our examples. So for an example for this one, it might be what was the high temperature each day in St. Cloud last year? Sounds right. Does kind of sound like that. What was the high temperature each day in St. Cloud last year? So for that to be statistical, are we going to have a lot of data points? Do we have a lot of things we can look at?
No, only 120 data points.
What? It's each day in a whole year.
Oh, each day. I thought you meant each year.
No, each day. We have 365 data points. That's a lot of points of data. And are those points going to be different? Does the high temperature in St. Cloud for a whole year, is the high temperature going to be the same every single day?
Yes.
No. Where have you been? Last year we had some days where it was in the negatives, some days it's in the 80s, it's all over the place. So that would be statistical. We could find the average, we could group things, figure that out.
I've been to Arizona and I've been to Florida.
Non-statistical.
Both of them places stay about the same time.
Exactly, but not in Minnesota. So non-statistical has that prefix non. What does prefix non mean? Not. So if statistical means that there's many points of data, non-statistical means that there is one answer. And there's a couple ways that this could happen with one answer. One way would be if I just asked one person how they were doing today. Ali, how are you doing today? Good. Can I do anything? Can I do any sort of math or data collecting with that other than he's good today?
Yeah.
I can't say on average, how does Lee do every day?
Yeah,
He's good today, so does that mean he's good every day?
Sad, happy, or mad?
Yeah, but since you just told me good today, just one answer, I can't do any math with that. I
Good
can't
is
say
in between all of them.
it is for one day, but not every day. Okay, or I could ask people multiple questions, and if everyone gives me the same answer, or I'll charge it. How about all right, if I ask people the same question and they give me the same answer, so Dorian, what's 2 plus 2? No, 4. And how, what's 2 plus 2? Yeah. 4. Aaliyah, what's 2 plus 2? 4. So if I ask a question but I get the same answer over and over again, that's not statistical either. Okay. So one way that we could ask this question would be, what was the high temperature in St. Cloud I did ask for you to put the scissors down, but you were doing a good job. On May 13th, 2023. So that changes the question a little bit. That's okay. We'll tape it back on once we're done.
it's not permanently disfigured?
No, because and then we'll glue it on a sheet of paper. Alright, what was the high temperature in St. Cloud on May 13th, 2023? So this day already happened, and on that day in this one place, would there be multiple highest temperatures? No, in one place it would get to a certain point, and then the temperature goes down. We could look for this answer in lots of places. We could look for it on Carrie Levin. We could go weather.com. I'm sure there's other websites where we could find that. Okay, but we're going to do that in St. Cloud, and it'll give us one answer. All right, so those are our first two things, the statistical and non-statistical. Next up, we have numerical and categorical. Sorry, let me go back real quick. For statistical and non-statistical, it's either going to be one or the other. So when you look at data, either it's statistical, we can do math with it, or it's non-statistical.
You can never do math.
If it's statistical, we're going to continue on to decide if it's numerical or categorical. So when you think of that word numerical, what word does that sound like or look like to you? Numerical? Numeral, which means number. So our data is listed as numbers.
Before I was talking, the tip was broken with the scissors.
Data is listed as numbers.
Really early on before we started notes.
Okay, so for example, if I ask how many bubblers
You just took away the scissors. Why don't you just go grab the scissors?
did each student drink yesterday?
I know.
Oh, you can't see that, sorry. How many bubblers did each student drink yesterday? So I'm asking all my students here. So I'm going to have more than one data point. And should we have different answers? Yeah, we're not going to have a lot of different answers. It's not going to be a lot of variety, but there should be a couple. How many of you drank no bubblers yesterday? 0 bubblers.
I've never drank a bubble.
Okay, so you drank 0. Okay, how many of you drank 1 bubbler yesterday?
I did.
Anyone drink 2 bubblers yesterday?
I don't even have the money.
Anyone drink 3 or more? Any crazy people? No crazies. Good.
What?
All right. So, for bubblers, right, I didn't ask about caffeine because that's another thing. So that would give us different answers, different responses. Not a whole lot, but a couple. All right, so now if I go to categorical. Categorical sounds like what? Categories. What's a category? Yeah, multiple things. They're kind of grouped together, like in different categories. So if you go on Jeopardy, there's different categories, different types of questions you're going to answer. So categorical means that we're going to group things. So data is listed as names or as groups. So these types of questions are going to result not in numbers. So for example, if I ask, what is each student's favorite flavor of bubbler? So kind of the same topic. Did you get this written down? Remember, you have to write the insides. You're missing some information. All right. So for this one, when I ask you, what is your favorite flavor of bubbler, would Belle say, I don't know, but I drank 2 yesterday? No, Belle probably has it. Belle, what's your favorite flavor? Blue?
Me too.
Blue? Anyone tropical? Yeah, I'm not a huge fan. Is the strawberry one, right? Strawberry. No, you don't like the strawberry one?
Is it guava?
Strawberry kiwi or something like
There's a pomegranate one.
Yeah.
There you go.
the heck
I
is
don't know.
like lemon lime? Like?
It's like fruity.
There's like lemon lime.
Yeah, lemon lime. There you go. Okay, so we're going to give us those groups and group those into those kinds of things.
No.
Wasps go inside.
All right, we're going to go to the next one here. So those are ways that we can classify our data. Next up, we have population. When we think of population, what do we think of?
Like the amount.
Yeah, like an amount. Generally speaking, when we think of population, what are we thinking of? Yeah, like how many people we live somewhere, right? How many people live in St. Cloud, Minnesota?
What are you doing here?
So if I ask Siri how many people live in St. Cloud, Minnesota, see if we can get that. We got 68,861. So what does that number represent for population? 68,000. I swear it said 61 earlier today. 68,881. That's 20 people just moved here apparently.
No.
Yeah, people that live here in St. Cloud. It doesn't necessarily always include like Waite Park, just St. Cloud, but we're talking about everyone that lives there. So for population, we're looking for the entire group of people.
Fun fact, Minneapolis has 435,000 people.
Yeah. Mr. Kwan, do you have an extra one of those? Thanks. I don't know where they were.
Can I take a picture?
Yeah, that's Sedavia's. So it's a
Just cross off the.
perfect. Yeah, perfect. All right, so entire group of people we want information about. So a sample, though, is what we generally do when we collect data. And a sample is the smaller group of people. And sometimes it's not people, it might be animals. But it made more sense to say people. So an entire group of people we want information about is our population. But the smaller group is what we actually collect data from. So for example, if ASU, that's our Apollo Student Union, we just held the elections for it, right? Hassan, Abdi Fatah, focus. All right, they're the ones that decide about homecoming shirts. So for the next couple, let's focus on that. So if they wanted to know how students feel about homecoming shirts, they might want to know like what color kids want their shirts to be. They might want to know, should we do long sleeve or short sleeve? Or they might just be simply asking how many of you are going to buy a homecoming shirt so they know how much to order. Okay, and really, they want to know about all Apollo students. So all Apollo students is our population.
You gotta include the teachers too. Janitors.
That's true. We could. All Apollo people at Apollo could do that. Okay, but for somebody to walk around with a checklist with everyone's name on it and locate everyone, put that board down. We're done with the board. Put it down. You can talk later. We're not communicating right now. Put the board down. Go with it. It's okay. All right. In order to do that, if you walked around with a checklist of every student name in our whole building, do you think it would be feasible for somebody to ask every single person in this building their opinion within even a week?
No. Yes. It's possible if you spend about 10-15 seconds on each person.
Right, but what if people are gone? What if somebody's gone on vacation for a week? Or somebody's sick? No, we can't count them as dead. So we use a smaller population. Also, if they need to make a decision, maybe somebody forgot that they had to order homecoming shirts and they have to make a decision in a day. They might do a smaller group. So maybe they're only going to ask 300 students their opinion out of the 1,200. There's about 1,200 students at Apollo. They might ask 300 students, and based on that information, depending on what those 300 students say, they might be able to come up with a conclusion and say, okay, based on these 300 students, we know everyone is buying a homecoming shirt. Or based on these 300 students, we know not very many people are going to buy them, so we don't need to order very many. Now, once we have our sample, there's different ways to collect your sample. So these 300 students, to decide which 300 we ask, there's 4 different ways to do it. Okay, the first way we're going to talk about is random. Does anyone have a good way to describe random? A lot of people, when they try and describe random, you just use the word random. What does random mean?
Never the same.
Good, not in a particular order. Is that what you're going to say?
Not the same every single time.
Good, it's not the same every single time. Good, so think back to when we did our random generators with cards, and we did that card drawing. It was random, meaning all the cards, it was just picking one every time. When you hit that random generator, did the person next to you get the same cards in the exact same order? No, but we're picking from the same list. So random means everyone has an equal chance of being selected.
Absolutely no chance that anything will be the same.
Well, they could be the same, but it's going to be random. So there's sometimes, like when we roll a dice, we get like a 1 more than once. Maybe flip a coin, you get heads a couple of times, but each time we're not sure what the answer is going to be. So everyone has an equal chance of being selected. So this would be like if we had a computer generate a list of student names. So the computer makes the list, or we say generate. That means makes. So if the computer generates a list of names. So when a computer generates that list, when the computer generates the list, what happens is that it would pick 300 names, and then ASU would go around and say, okay, you were picked as a name, we're going to ask you. Okay, but as we do that, what the heck is happening? Abdirman, or Abdi Fatah, what are you doing? You can charge your phone on my desk. Why don't you charge your phone on my desk so you're not on it?
Is there a complicated?
I don't know.
Sorry.
Oh, right there. All right. So, the computer with it, we have the computer list again and make another list. Somebody might be on both lists. There might be some repeats, but overall we wouldn't be able to guess all 300 names that were going to be made. Okay. Next up, we're going to do the one underneath it, which is convenience. What does it mean if something is convenient? What? It's in your favor? Think of like a convenience store. What makes Quick Trip a convenience store?
It sells gasoline.
Yeah, it has everything. It has gas, it has food, it has like some toilet paper, paper towels, right? It's got everything. Okay, that's what a convenience store means, is it's an easy stop to get everything. Like Walmart has everything. It makes it easy. Okay, so participants are easy to reach. So kind of like in your favor. It just makes sense. So for this one, we're going to say I ask, or you ask everyone, or ask students in my period 3 class. So that would be convenient to ask students that are already in your period 3 class. Did you have to set up your own schedule to figure out what class you're going to for period 3? No. Everyone right now knows where they go period 3, right? Did you have to pick out which students need to show up to your period 3 class? No, they're just there. And then maybe you just ask your teacher, hey, Mr. Kwan, I have a really quick question I just need to ask everyone. Who's planning on buying a homecoming shirt? Raise your hand. And then that way you've asked 30 people really quickly. It's really fast. But our problem with this is if we only have students that maybe their period 3 class, if it's only juniors or seniors, we're not getting everyone. So sometimes convenience isn't always the best. But it is definitely easy. All right, we're going to move on. There's 2 more, systematic and self-selected. When we see systematic, what word is our base word there? System. And we think of a system. What does system mean? Like a method or a rule. There's like a system to it. There's a reason behind it. So there is a method to choosing participants. Or you might think of it as a rule. And now systematic and random can sometimes get confusing because it can feel random. But the difference is with random, if we were to do it again, we wouldn't be able to predict who the computer's going to pick or who is going to get chosen. But with systematic, because there was a rule, if we were to redo this, the same people would get picked. Does that make sense? A little bit? So if I created an A to Z list of students, so I put everyone in alphabetical order, and then I go through and I select every 10th student. It feels random because right now, could you be the 10th person on the list? The 10th name? Does anyone know if they would be the 10th person when it's listed? So it feels random because we don't know. But once we make that list and we start counting, we know it's the 10th person, 10th person, 10th person. I give that list to somebody else and I say pick every 10th person. And they will get the same names. Abdi Fatah. Write this down. All right, last one is self-selected. So what does it mean to be selected? Chosen. So if it's self-selected, who's choosing? You. So participants are choosing to partake. And we do this quite often at school, where we put things out that you choose to take. Where do we put surveys out that you choose to take or not take? Schoology, yep. So a Schoology survey is a really good example of our self-selected.
So for example, when we did what is the best cereal, like probably last week, did you guys are forced to do it? Schoology?
When you voted Cinnamon Toast Crunch, or what was the other one I was against? Fruity Pebbles? Did your teachers sit down and say, vote, you have to do it? No. Did some of you choose to vote? I did. So that's that self-selected. We put it on there, and not everyone had to do it, but you could if you wanted to. If you didn't, that's fine. You just don't get your opinion heard in the decision. All right, so the reason why, if you were cutting with me, we kept these together, these 5, is because when we have a sample, see how it says that we're going to name the sample, who it is, it's 300 students, and we would say how it's picked. Either it's random, convenient, systematic, or self-selected. Does that kind of make sense, these arrows? Okay. All right, last one, we have biased and unbiased.
You need the thing.
You need the thing? Oh, in a second, yeah. What is bias? What does it mean to have a bias? Yeah, to prefer something or have a judgment already, kind of have made up your mind. So bias means that we're going to have a question or a sample will result in an inaccurate response. So the question or sample will result in an inaccurate representation of data. And inaccurate means that it is wrong.
Way off, so off track that it wraps back around on itself.
Maybe. So there's a couple ways that this would turn into a bias. So if we're asking, if Mr. Scullery wants to know who is Apollo's favorite teacher, if he only asks 9th graders, as 9th graders, do you guys know all the teachers at Apollo?
No.
No. So would it be very accurate to say, oh, the 9th graders picked this person, so that person has to be Apollo's favorite? No, maybe they're the 9th grade favorite, but in order to have an unbiased, we'd have to ask everyone. Another way that things can be biased is how we ask the question. Okay, so if I go up to Eileen, and I smile at Eileen like this, I'm like, hey Eileen.
Don't touch that.
Eileen, I'm your favorite teacher, right? I'm the best teacher, and you really like being in my class, and we do really good, and we pass the class, and it's really fun, right? Do you think that in that moment, if I wasn't her favorite teacher, she would feel comfortable being like, no, I don't really like you? It's kind of awkward, right? Okay, if you disagreed with it, but we made it that it would be a little hard, especially if you don't want to hurt my feelings, right? You're like, Miss Morrell's really nice. I want her to feel good about herself. I don't want her to go home and cry tonight. I'm going to tell her she's my favorite teacher. Okay? But that might not be the case. If I go around and say that to all of you, some of you I know are very honest, and you would straight up tell me, even if I had smiled at you and was like, I'm your favorite teacher, I'll give you $5 if you say it. Okay? If I do that, I know some of you are still going to be honest with me and say, no, you're not my favorite teacher. I know that. But most of you probably would feel very uncomfortable and be like, yeah, sure. Okay?
Give me my $5 bill.
Exactly. So that would make it biased. So if Miss Morrell asks,
You should see how much I annoy her for trying this shit. What's this down?
if Miss Morrell asks, I'm your favorite teacher, right? That would be a biased question. Because if I'm asking you if I'm your favorite teacher, you might feel like you have to answer a certain way. If somebody told me that their favorite teacher was somebody else and I got really mad at them in front of you and I was like, what? I'm not your favorite teacher? I can't believe that. And then I went to the next person. I said, am I your favorite teacher? You probably would be like, oh, I don't want to make her mad. Alexa wouldn't care. I know that. All right. So that's biased. What is unbiased? We have that prefix un. Yeah, un means not or opposite. So if biased means it's going to be inaccurate, unbiased means it's actually going to be accurate. It's going to be correct. So again, that one has kind of that weird prefix that's like that fiction, nonfiction. It's a little separate for what we normally think. Or right. It's correct. So a lot of times this has been in the news lately, or you learn a lot about it as your citizenship, digital citizenship. When you look at websites, you want to try and look at websites that are unbiased. Because if you look at websites that are biased, they're just going to tell you their point of view in that one spot. So you want to be able to read things that give you both points of view. All right, so unbiased. If I wanted to know in this class who your favorite teacher is, how could I do that differently rather than going around and even just saying, who's your favorite teacher, and making you feel like you have to say me? I could have a different adult come in and ask. I could leave the room and have somebody ask. Or we could take an anonymous survey. Does anyone remember what anonymous means? Yeah, like you don't know who said it. You don't have to put your name on it. So maybe I want to know your favorite teacher. So I hand out Post-its and I just ask everyone to write their favorite teacher on a Post-it and I just collect them without looking at who turned it in. You might be willing to be more honest with me about that versus telling me straight to my face that I'm not your favorite teacher. And that's okay. I want everyone to know I was just using that as an example. It's okay if I'm not your favorite teacher. I'm okay with it.
I told other teachers that I've had before that they're my least favorite teacher. They don't like it.
I bet not. No one really likes that. All right, so as we write this here, what time did you come?
Where are you going?
Okay, can you ask Mr. Clark?
Where are you going?
All right, so for this, when we glue it in,
I'm sorry, I forgot I have 3 minutes, 3:25.
oh, okay,
So,
see you later.
Girl.
All right, when we glue this in, we're going to do L2, classifying data.
This one's empty.
Okay. All right, and then after we label that, you're going to go ahead and glue in the back side. Remember, glue in the white part here that's not labeled.
Yeah, and then I didn't say never mind again. Sorry.
You guys need another one?
Yeah.
Mario.
All right, there is a quick check today.